Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I call to order the regular Board of Education meeting on January 29th, 2026 at 6:30 o'clock in the boardroom of Oak High School. Please call the roll.
Mr. Grossman,
Here.
Dr. O'Gale,
Here.
Mr. Mr. Gertz,
Here.
Dr. Livingston,
Here.
Mr. Grandis,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenbaker.
I move to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district and independent contractors and specific volunteers, including hearing testimony and a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of a public body that is subject to the Local Government Wage Increase Transparency Act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted held in accordance with this act. ILCS 122C1, collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or the representatives or corporations concerning salary schedules for one or more class level employees by ILCS 122C2, and litigation of an action against, affecting, or on behalf of a particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis of the finding shall be recorded, entered into the minutes of the notice meeting. Do I have a second? Second. Please call the roll.
Dr. O'Gale,
Yes.
Mr. Gertz,
Yes.
Mr. Grossman,
Yes.
Mr. Grandis,
Yes.
Dr. Livingston.
Yes. We have Adrian.
Not yet.
Well, we will reconvene open session. We will begin with our introductory reports. What's up first?
Yes, okay, so for our student showcase this evening, we have our chess club here and our activities director. The audience is here to kick things off.
Hello, all right, I have two students from our chess team. Mr. Payne is the coach, he's also one of our math teachers here. He couldn't be here tonight, so I will introduce to you. We have Andrew and Felix. And they're gonna come talk a little bit about their upcoming state series and what happened at West River Conference last weekend, so come on up.
Last weekend at the Western Rugby County Championship, we placed second out of all 10 competing, only behind Hinsdale Central. And we had one person go undefeated, placed fifth in the individual section. Because of this result, we are now seeded 11th with the sectionals and are a lot for state. If we perform, I think about a win and a draw out of 4 games. So we are looking forward to what we are going to achieve, and we are projected to finish within the top 30 at state this year. I think that,
Not particularly. Really hopeful for this year and the next year because we've had a lot of really good new people showing up and the continued support for iPark buses and our money to be able to buy food and go long places is real good for all these upcoming years.
thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much for that. Next thing you should show some, opening moves and strategies. Could we have our student council liaison?
Good evening, everyone. I'm so sorry I missed you all last month, and I hope you're having a great new year. I'm excited to share what OPRF students have been up to this month, including service projects, major student events, club activities, and some student concerns. We'll start with students in service who really gave back this past holiday season with their December Bears fundraiser. They sold teddy bear gift bags with all of their proceeds going towards a house in Austin. Additionally, they hosted a Chipotle Dine Out fundraiser, once again supporting the same organization. Looking ahead, OPRF's annual Japan Fest is coming up this Saturday from 12 to 4 here at OPRF. This event showcases Japanese culture through games, food, performances, and interactive activities. Also, the Middle East North African Student Club, also known as MENA, will be hosting its 3rd annual Palestine Culture Day. The event will have live Palestinian traditional music and dancing alongside embroidery workshops. OPRF students and others will present their poetry while local organizations and vendors share their products. There will also be a children's area with button making, coloring books, and story times. Participants can get henna and get their name written in Arabic. Just yesterday, Student Council and Letters of Love joined together and had a member from both clubs write uplifting letters to sick children. My club officers and I felt everything went great and that the students showed amazing creativity. We are looking forward to inviting more clubs to our meetings. The Pride Club, in collaboration with the Alliance, is hosting the Youth Leadership Summit 2026. This is an empowering day-long event where LGBTQ+ students and allies can connect and build leadership skills with students all across schools from all of Illinois. This Sunday, attendees can expect free meals, games, karaoke, and even a visit from a new Pride Pub, Griff. At the end of last year, OPRF, 2025, OPRF welcomed Griff, our new facility dog. Students are able to visit the Golden Retriever during free periods and lunch in the Student Activity Center. This new addition to our school has received an overload of support from our students. They had the chance to hang out with Griff during finals and really gave them a chance to de-stress and reset. Mental wellness has been a major focus this month, as January tends to be one of the hardest for students dealing with new second semester classes and college decisions for our seniors. To combat the seasonal stress, OPRF's Type organization is hosting cocoa and crafts in the student commons during all lunch periods to boost morale, mindfulness, and community connection. They will serve hot chocolate and have fun crafts to get students' mind off the winter. Student Council has also been collecting and sharing student feedback. One concern continues to be the morning doors. We understand that students need to be at school on time, but things happen, especially in the colder months. Roads get more dangerous and traffic gets worse. Students just missing the bell by a couple seconds are forced to walk all the way to the main entrance in below freezing conditions. Many students have experienced getting turned away from doors before 8 a.m. or exactly at 8 a.m., which puts them in an unfair position to walk around construction and snow, making them twice as late. We ask for a few extra minutes of the security staff's time to accommodate these students. Extending the time these doors are open will make students feel appreciated and cared for during these cold months. Students have also shared frustration about the balcony being closed based on isolated incidents, expressing that access for the entire student body shouldn't be removed due to the action of one individual. They feel that the balcony is a really valuable resource for them during free periods, and they wish to use it in respectful ways. Finally, students mentioned the possibility of another temporary ID station located at door 10, the entrance in the mall. Those in need of temp IDs have to make the trip all the way to the main entrance and wait in a long line, which makes them miss a lot of school time. Having this additional station will make entering the school more efficient and reduce tardies. And that wraps up this month's report. Thank you so much for your time and for continuing to listen and value student voices.
Next is our superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, congratulations to the recipients of the second quarter Student of the Quarter Award, which recognizes students who have achieved personal, academic, or social improvement, exhibited leadership, attained their academic status, their personal struggles, or showed integrity and or contributed to a classroom environment or team. The award winners are Josiah Harris, Avery Best, Eric Charlton, Rowan Neville, Nathan Giroux, Angel Contreras, Aaron Dwyer, Juliet Brown, Jay Clay, and London Julie. Kudos to Bethany Langston, the second recipient of the newly renamed Eddie Stitzman Honoring Psych Program graduate who passed away this past summer. The award recognizes students who go above and beyond in demonstrating the values that matter most in our school community. Efforts, kindness, leadership, persistence, determination, and I would be remiss if I didn't point out, I was there when this award was given to Destiny, and she is a most worthy individual. Her enthusiasm and joy at having received this award was just wonderful to see. So congratulations, Destiny. Congratulations to seniors Elijah Cassell and David Ogunsanya on being named 2026 Posse Foundation Scholars, an extremely competitive process. They are among 119 scholars selected, more than 2,400 nominees across the Chicago region. They will receive full tuition scholarships at partner colleges and universities. Elijah at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and David at Queens. Kudos to Iman Johnson, Tyler Edmondson, Caleb Dillard, and Sebastian Robinson on completing the Plumbers Bridge program. These students attended evening courses last fall in preparation for taking the Plumbers Apprenticeship exam, with the goal of joining the ranks of the Plumbers Union. Congratulations to all three of them. Congratulations to, can we hit more time? One of the Beck's robotics teams who competed at Mundelein High School and earned the Innovate Award, which honors a unique or uncommon design element or strategy that is thoroughly documented from initial concept through execution. The team members are Morgan Browder, Cy Caniff, Oliver Dubé, Julia Dormanen, Nate Kane, Anderson Langefeld, and Liam Raskin. Finally, kudos to members of the Husky speech team who were in top honors at two recent competitions. At the South Elgin Ugly Sweater Soiree tournament, they brought home 28 individual awards and a third place team finish, while at the Rolling Meadows Invitational, they also won 13 individual medals and a fifth place team finish. So congratulations to all Huskies. It's been a productive start to our semester already.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Next agenda item is FOIA status. Ms. Evans?
11 submitted and 8 resolved.
Thank you. And we will move now to this month's employee recognitions. Tonight, we're pleased to continue our employee recognition program for this school year. And this program is sponsored by Oak Park Bank, a Wintrust Community Bank. We turn it over to Dr. Odell.
Thank you. So first, we are pleased to recognize and congratulate Adam Bader, mathematics teacher, who was selected as the teacher of the month. Congratulations. Here are some of the highlights from the nominations received for Mr. Bader. Mr. Bader turned a dreaded subject into something enjoyable through clear expectations, patience, humor, and constant support, building trust and confidence while making every class engaging, welcoming, and fun for students. And I will just add that I can vouch for everything in that nomination, as my older daughter had the pleasure of taking calculus with Mr. Bader her junior year. So I know it's true, and I'm so happy to be able to convey our congratulations. Congratulations. Would you like to say something? Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Good one. Thank you.
There we go. So I want to start with a joke. I have to say it's a joke. It's a joke. I was in the hall the other day and a kid called me average. I said, "Hey, that's me." Well done. So, well, first off, I really am thankful, like even as teachers getting awards, but a lot. But we don't do it for awards or reports. And I just want to say thanks to the board and to the community of the school for trusting me with your kids. I love teaching here. I love working with them. And it's really hard, but it's really worth it. My daughter Marion is a sophomore here and totally embarrassed right now. But Jamie will be a freshman here next year. And I love the community we have here. I love the group of people I teach with. And I'm grateful to work with these students. If I can make math a little more exciting than I want. So thanks, I appreciate it very much. Thank you. I also want to point out that you taught my son. So congratulations. It's for you. We have to go, Marion, that's your April homework.
All right, and now we'd like to extend congratulations to our employee of the month, Kimberly Buckles, Special Education Teacher's Assistant. Here are some of the highlights from the nomination received. Ms. Buckles is a compassionate, dedicated support for freshmen in classroom learning, helping manage behavior, organize students, and provide daily care, preparation, and encouragement that makes a meaningful difference for both students and teachers. Congratulations, Kim.
She's online. Kim?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
I just wanted to thank everyone who voted for me and nominated me. It was definitely shocking. I'm there every day and I'm there for the students. I really enjoy what I do. I enjoy working with them, and I'm gonna continue to do it. So, but I am really sorry that I didn't have a chance to come back to work, but I do live all the way in Aurora. So that's why I didn't come back. But I am very pleased and happy to receive the award.
Yay, Kim!
Thank you.
Congratulations to our January winners. We will now turn to public comments. Lisa, has anyone signed up?
I have no in person, but I do have a written public comment that I forwarded you guys to something.
Okay, and that'll be incorporated in the minutes as well? Great. So let's now turn to section number 8. Are there any consent items that any board members want to pull for the discussion? Hearing none, I move to approve the consent items as follows. Item A, approval of open and closed meeting minutes of December 18th, 2025 and January 15th, 2026, and the declaration of the audio tapes of the closed session minutes of March 2024 be destroyed. Item B, approval of the personnel recommendations, including new hires, resignations, and job abandonment. Item C, approval of the proposed Board of Education meeting dates for school year 2026-27. Item D, approval of Culture, Climate, and Behavior Committee membership for the 2025-26 school year as presented. Item E, approval of the 2026-27 incoming student Chromebook purchase in the amount of $434,470. Item F, approval of the acquisition of a 2025 12+1 passenger Chevrolet Trans Tech wheelchair accessible multifunction school activity bus from Southern Bus and Mobility. Item G, approval of the resolution designating the business office to prepare and present the budget for fiscal year 26-27. Item H, approval of the November 2025 treasurer's report as presented. Item I, approval of the November 2025 finance report as presented. Item J, approval of the December 2025 and January 2026 check disbursements and financial resolutions, including payroll resolutions for February 2026. Do I have a second?
Second.
Lisa, please call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Burks,
Yes.
Dr. Livingston,
Yes.
Dr. Odell,
Yes.
Mr. Brisbane,
Yes.
and Ms. Winsley.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Next, we will turn to our action items for tonight. First one of which, I guess the only one of which is certification of our class of 2026 major graduates. I move to certify the class of 2026 major graduates as presented. Go ahead, second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Congratulations to that.
Thank you. Congratulations to the major graduates and to the families. Well done. Lisa, please call the roll.
Mr. Burks,
Yes.
Dr. Livingston, Mr. Brisbane,
Yes.
Dr. Odell,
Yes.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
and Ms. Winsley.
Yes.
And we will now move into our discussion section. The first topic is our fiscal year 2025 financial audit. And I'll turn this over to Dr. Johnson and Mr. Arias.
Thank you. Yeah, this is our annual audit. This was discussed last week at our CSC meeting, and Tony, go ahead and introduce that.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, this is Mr. Thorpe from Lauterbach Lehman, our auditing firm, here to present the results of our past fiscal year audit to the Board of Education. We will do a walkthrough of the key points of the audit. Just want to thank him and his team for all the work and the great communications. As always, it's a tedious process, and we go through the extra reporting requirements and transparency requirements to achieve the Certificate of Excellence Award in financial reporting, and a lot goes into it. So just very appreciative to his team, and then also to our business office team for a really successful audit season.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tony. And thank you to the board for allowing me to present tonight. We had a wonderful discussion at the finance committee last week. So I always enjoy kind of presenting the finance committee because that kind of allows it to be more of a conversation. And then we can present the board meeting where we can just hit on the highlights. So as Tony mentioned, my name is McKay Thorpe, audit principal from Lauterbach Lehman. I've been a part of the audit since we became your auditors about 3 years ago now. So I can say we are very blessed and very lucky to have this district as a client due to how prepared the district is for every single year that we've been a part of it, especially in a year where there's a large significant capital project going on. There's a lot that goes behind that. And I was telling Tony that we need to somehow get Brian to come down and lead a training at IASBO. Cause he does a tremendous job, and to be honest, probably the best job I've seen. So thank you again to Brian, Tony, Jacqueline, and Tanya just for all the hard work that they do, and we bring extra stress to their days. It's very wonderful to work with, so. All right, so we will be going through the large booklet here. And we're going, and before we get into that, just want to say, so the AFR is essentially a summary of this whole entire booklet that we need to submit to ISB, which is the Illinois School Board of Education. And so essentially what they do is there's a tab in the Excel file called the financial profile score. And so they take a look at kind of the total expenditures, revenues, your cash on hand, all that good stuff, and you take account of your debt, and they create a score, and the score is between 1 and 4, with 4 being the highest, and which the district for fiscal year 2025 received a 4.0 score. So congratulations there, it's a level of recognition. Okay, so now we will actually go into the booklet. And if you have the booklet with you, looking at it, it's PDF page 9. And so as Tony had alluded to, the district again once received the certificate of excellence in financial reporting for fiscal year June 30th, 2024 from the Association of School Business Officials International. And so as Tony said, there's a lot that goes in here. Districts are not required to go for the certificate. There's a lot of extra work, extra data, extra analysts that needs to go down that Brian and Tony and their team need to do. So very, very happy to see the certificate again. We also expect for the district to receive this award again for the June 30th, 2025 financials that were submitted to IASBO for review. Okay, we will now go to page 12. And it's titled Independent Auditors Report on the page. So what this page is your audit opinion for fiscal year June 30th, 2025. And the district once again received an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion. And this is the highest opinion that we can offer. So congratulations once again on receiving that. And if you're looking for where exactly the unmodified opinion is, it is the second paragraph that starts in our opinion, the financial statements referred and so forth. That shows that it's unmodified opinion. If there was any modifications to that statement, that would be a modified opinion. But since there were no findings, we received an unmodified. Okay, we'll flip now to page number 16. Title left-hand corner, management discussion analysis. And so what these next two pages do is they provide more of a narrative for the fiscal year. So essentially what we do is we fill in the numbers, send it over to Tony and Brian, and then they're able to go in and kind of explain in their own words why certain areas increase or decrease, which is really great because it allows the district to explain what exactly is going on instead of just relying on the numbers to talk. So that's always wonderful to allow the district to do. Just real quick, there is a new GASB, so GASB Government Accounting Standard Board. They're releasing a new standard where they're looking to adjust the audit financial report. So next year, this section might look a little bit different, but they are looking to shrink it. So some of that's a little bit, hopefully we can save some trees with how long this report is and make things a little bit more condensed, which will help everybody. All right, we will now go to page number 29. This is the start of your financial statements. Top left-hand corner, it's balance sheet dash governmental funds. And so this is looking at your fund level, and specifically their assets, liability, deferred items, and your any fund balance. So general, primarily your education fund, operation maintenance, capital projects, and non-major, which is like your tort fund. And so one thing you'll see, assets primarily driven by cash and your property tax receivable, liabilities, your accounts payable, accrued payroll. So these are invoices that were received after year end that then had to be booked back. Then deferred item primarily is your property taxes. So these are taxes that the district levied for that you are waiting on receiving, and then your ending fund balance. If you scroll down or flip over to the next page, page 31, you'll see its title, Statement of Revenues, Expenditures, and Changes in Fund Balances, dash governmental funds. So it's gonna look similar to the balance sheet where it's at the fund level, so general, operating, capital, non-major. However, now this is your income statement. So this is showing your revenues, expenditures, other financing sources, and your ending fund balance. So your revenues primarily driven by your property taxes. Expenditures primarily driven by your payroll expenses, and obviously with the capital project going on. And then your other financing sources, if there's any transfers between funds, and then obviously the debt issuance is the main item that will look new for this year, and the premium on top of the debt issuance into the capital projects fund. Then of course your ending fund balances, and then you can see the net change in fund balance for the growth. Okay, we will flip then to page number 36. Top left-hand corner is titled Notes to the Financial Statements. So what these next two pages are, and I'm not going to go quite in depth with them because it is pretty a lot of accounting and auditing verbiage. Is essentially GASB sends to us how we need to perform our audit, and then to make sure that the district is following their standards. So this just walks through how exactly we did our testing, how exactly the footnotes are being put together. So kind of the main footnotes are your capital assets. So any assets of the current the fixed assets that the district currently has, what the depreciation is. So you'll see there's a large CIP or construction in progress, which will be the project that's going on. So that's going to be increasing quite a bit over the years. And then there's also a long-term debt section. So I mentioned that there was that certificate that was issued. And so you'll see that that is now being added to your debt schedule. And then you can get some information as to principal that's due in 1 year. There's also a schedule to show the principal and interest that will be paid on that debt. So I know there's a lot that I went through. So if there's a pause there, if there's any questions, but before that, just want to reiterate successful clean audit. Tony and Brian do a wonderful job. That they make our lives very easy, and I always say you kind of know how an audit's going to go within 5 minutes of walking in. As they're super prepared, our portal is filled up with all the support before we even ask. So that's usually a telltale sign of strong controls and processes.
I noticed that there was a recommendation about
Yes.
making sure that we measure the useful life of certain items and cover appreciation over time.
Yep.
We've not been doing in the past. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah.
Can you tell me how?
Yes, I believe you passed a policy, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, that actually was apologies, I'm trying to have pages on it quickly for time here. Yeah, that was a recommendation from a prior year. We have since followed their guidance on their depreciation schedules and capitalization process, and there's a note that they've included underneath that we've now met their recommendation and it won't be included in the future.
Yeah, a lot of times the capital asset policy, what's on the press, there was a policy in place, which is GASB comes out with a policy that they want a little bit more detail to meet their standards. So obviously we have to go off GASB, so there was a policy in place, it just had to get spruced up. Awesome, perfect, thank you.
Next on our agenda, we want to discuss our project 2 quarterly update.
Pull it up, Tom.
Picture 6. Why don't we start with start with the dashboard and then
The one that's linked to the file, and then we can do the pictures during the presentation.
Hey, thanks. This is the fourth quarterly update for 2025, last year, and we have our whole team here, so you can ask questions if anybody you want. We will Jeff Bergman, who's director of construction, but also director of grounds, and we've got from building Tony, Jeremy, and Jim Hodge. So Tony, I don't know if there's anything you want to say to get this started. We submit mission, of course, to share this very important project and on a
Sure, no, I don't have a ton to kick off before we turn over. Did want to recognize that being that our next quarterly update would be scheduled for May following the April quarter. This will be Jeff's final quarterly update with us, but maybe he'll still come back for the May one to see what's going. But
certainly,
yes, always invited. It's exciting to see the progress that's gone on. Once we're done talking through the dashboard here, we've got some images that Gilbane has provided to see the work that's inside the building. So looking forward to presenting that. And I don't know if anybody has recently gone onto the time-lapse camera that's out there that lives on the OPR website and done a start to current day. But wow, can you start to see all the work that has gone from turning it from a pilot dirt into what we have now. So with that, I will turn it over for our update.
Thanks, Tony. So far, we've worked a little over 107,000 hours out here on the project. Last time I reported you guys back in September, we're hovering a little over 50,000 hours at that time. We still have 2 recordable incidents on the job. There's 1 near miss, 1 lost time. So nothing has changed since last time that you guys have been pretty good so far since then. Financially, we're doing great. Our contract value still remains at the 91 million mark. We still have 200 change orders out there that we approved last time when we met. So no contract change there. Built to date, however, has definitely increased. We're built to date just under 41 million. So we are putting in quite a bit of work since last time we met. You guys might remember, we just started pouring our 3rd floors back then. Now we're almost close to the building. So a lot of work is on place. Contingency wise, we're sitting around 1.4 million left. And within our trade allowances, we have about 1.6 million left overall. So healthy budget left over to bring the same home. Right now, total of 14 open change items in there for review, right around $343,000 in total value right now. Currently working through, trying to mitigate and see if we actually need to move forward with those items. Schedule wise, major milestones, right? Like I said, we poured our 3rd floor. We now have a 4th floor in. Most of our exterior walls are built where we can, except for on the full area. You see, when you're out there on swivels, you'll see we have a white tarp down on the 1st floor, kind of encapsulating us so we can keep working on the inside. So what has happened though on the inside is what you guys can't see. So the pictures that we're going to show you soon, we don't explain that, but down in the basement, All of our interior masonry walls and drywall walls are in and getting painted. We started drywalling in our dressing room areas that feed the dance, the green room that supports the auditorium. So a lot of those rooms are starting to progress with finishes here pretty soon. We're gonna start doing our ceiling work, our grids, our technoacoustical sound ceilings next week, towards the end of next week, beginning of second week of February. First floor, our masonry walls are near complete this week. Our framing walls will begin shortly here. I would say about a week and a half. We got a small area of framing walls on the first floor. It's mostly all CMU because it's a high traffic area. With there, all of our MEPs, both floors are just marching right behind our masonry walls. They are, let's say about 75% complete down corridors. Now we just have to start branching into the individual rooms, start feeding those rooms with power, ductwork, plumbing, etc. Second floor has progressed really well. This week we'll be done with masonry walls. In the middle of next week, we'll be fully done with all of our interior framing walls. Drywall has progressed up there as well. We have a lot more drywall walls up there than we do everywhere else. So a lot of that work has begun. We are beginning framing out for the pool balcony seating as well. We're getting ready to gear up for those seats. We have upcoming weeks. And from there, we started doing some of our interior like finished glazing block, the real nice pretty brickwork inside the school. That stuff has progressed as well, so when you get to the pictures, I'll try and point those out to you guys as best I can, the TVs. On third floor, we started setting our door frames this week. We started laying out walls this week. We have blocks stocked up there right now, ready to go. Those interior walls will start getting built out tomorrow. All of our MEP Rolf has progressed what they can. They don't have to wait on interior walls, so as that has progressed through the floors, they've continued up. Our fourth floor mechanical room, all of our interior mechanical room equipment is set on the equipment pads, and we started our overhead roughs. The whole building is sprayed fireproof out on all the floors we can, so the cementitious fireproofing, the sound stuffy insulation you see in the ceilings when you walk around the school above the acoustical tile, that's the material I'm talking about. That's sprayed out through the entire building. The rest we have is intumescent. From there, our temp roof is about 65% installed everywhere on the entire roof system. So if you have a lower roof part of the building where more mechanical equipment sit, then you have a higher roof that finishes out the gym area and mechanical penthouse. We're fighting weather right now for to get the rest of the temporary roof on, but I would say 60 to 65% of it is on, which is keeping us weather tight as best we can. We did order tarps to get us enclosed on the third floor, the gym area space, so you can see right now onto the floor. So the same tarps we had down that's covering our pool area, we order those for the gym space so we can get ourselves closed, start continuing the work there. Those should be arriving in a couple of weeks. Pool, however, what you guys don't see is what's really moving fast. Our pool slab on the deep end is poured. All of our, I would say, underground piping that supports the pool is all installed. Our grade beams, all north, west, south elevations poured. Our east elevations are getting poured next week. The ramp that used to feed all the equipment into the pool area and into the building has since then been removed. And we're working towards the end of next week to have that poured as well. Pool walls, framings have started as well, so we have started that down with the deep end. They're nearly full height with the framing. Rebar has started right behind those, marching on the west side, turning around north and back south. We are aiming to pour those here as one entire pour. It has to be uniform pour throughout because the gutter system is all part of the pool walls, so it's got to be poured at one time. So there will be a point where the pool walls themselves are framed on the deep end. Stop, and we move to the middle section and do some more work there, and that stops, and then the shallow end catches up with everything else. So it will be what feels like real fast speed, and all of a sudden just kind of wait for that last part to get ready so we can pour everything all at one time. But looking forward, we are making pretty good progress overall with build out. I see our MEP jumping up to the mechanical room. Our trades are multiplying, doubling the size of the crew to get that going. We got about 4 months worth of work up in that space, so I see them manning up maybe about 20 guys up there at a time working every single day. Third floor is definitely gonna speed up because most of the floor is already dance studio. You guys run the plans, like large room that can be separated with a copper partition. That takes up 90% of us, other than the gym. So for the interior build out part, that's gonna be pretty quick. Like I said, finishes are gonna be rolling down the basement first one second or right after that. Right now, for substantial completion, we still are on track with the west pool, substantial completion by July 31st. The new addition, however, what I've been talking about here, that you can see, we have lost some time due to other factors that we'll talk about here in a little bit, but we are pushing out to August 19th. I think our last report to you guys was that we were gonna be wrapping up July 31st. Right now, we're fighting against a few obstacles that we're working through. Questions? You know, it's quite a bit of info.
If I can provide a little more context behind the schedule. Jake did a great job walking through where we're at, where we're progressing. Couple things to note too, we're running right now, the last couple of weeks, about 80 to 100 workers on site every day. So as Jake mentioned, we're looking to add a few more. And things are really moving. Like you do walk the inside of the building and it really looks good. It's really clean. It's really coming together in there. Jake took a couple of groups of staff on tours earlier this week. And from what I heard, there was glowing reviews and people were super excited and astounded by just how big the pool and the gym really are when you walk and stand in those spaces. So we'll go through the pictures here in a minute, but as he mentioned, we are tracking as of our schedule update last Friday. And again, a schedule is a living and breathing document. It's constantly in flux, right? We update it every week. We analyze every week. What do we need to be doing? Where should we be focusing? What's our critical path? And so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of that insight, just so that you know what we're doing. August 19th, that includes everything being final cleaned and punch list inspected, punch list inspections done by the FGM team and their consultants. So that list is generated so that we know what the remaining items are done. It also includes all inspections, all inspections so that you can occupy the building are done. You know, as Jake mentioned, the weather, as we all know, the last 2 weeks has been challenging. It unfortunately hit us a little earlier than we would have liked this fall with some cold temps. And so we have been battling, you know, kind of what I term as these nuisance snows. But we've got about 4 days of temporary roofing left that we need 20 degrees or warmer and a dry roof deck. The roof deck is it's a corrugated style, and so you've got high and low flutes. And what's happening, or what has happened, is the snow that we've had, even though it's little, it's collected in those low flutes and it freezes and it thaws and freezes and thaws. So we're not taking risk, and that's part of what we want to make sure you guys understand is there's 2 things we're not going to sacrifice to speed this up. It's July 31st date. Number 1 is safety, and number 2 is quality, right? We're not going to push the envelope and put a roof on over a deck that might be wet. We're not going to frame exterior walls. If you look at the camera or look at as you walk past, we are framing the parapet kind of the top of the building. Right now, it's all metal stud framing. One of the things we are monitoring is with the sun has been powerful the last 2 days. You'll see some pretty good icicles that we keep knocking off and they keep reforming. You know, before we go to enclose that parapet and shoot that, we make sure that we get all that snow and ice and water out of that. We do not want to trap anything in there. So, you know, with that being said, we fought some weather, we fought some other challenges. We're really focused on looking forward. How do we get forward? Our critical path for this job runs through the pool. It starts with the pool. We're on track to, as Jake said, pour the pool walls at one full pour mid-March, hopefully early March, and we are working overtime where it makes sense on the pool to expedite that piece. Once that is done, then we infill the first floor slab around the pool to tie it into the rest of the building. And then we can start marching forward. Unfortunately, the exterior masonry wall bears on that slab that has to be poured after the pool, right? So that's why you see us having tarps there. And that masonry wall goes all the way from the first floor top of foundation to the roof level on the gym. So that encloses the pool and the gym. And that can't start till that slab goes. So once that goes, we will hit that exterior masonry wall hard, the brick to follow immediately behind, the windows to follow that. Then our critical path actually takes a little bit of a split, and the pool, it stays on the critical path, but just slightly by a couple days less than the gym above. And part of the challenge with the gym above is the conditioning requirements to lay that floor. And so we have to make sure that we have the proper conditioning, the proper controls in the building to make sure that, to ensure that wood floor goes down, it's properly acclimated, and that you're not gonna have issues for the long term. So one big thing that's happening next week that Jake skipped over, we are setting all of the rooftop equipment. So the humidification equipment for the pool, the 3 rooftop units for the gym, and there's two more pieces of equipment. Those will all be set. There'll be a large crane on site Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Across those 3 days, all the remaining equipment for this job will be set on. The rest of it was placed in the penthouse a couple months back before we finished up the roof deck. And that's all being final placed now, piped, ducted, wired. That'll start this week. So really good progress there. I'm gonna rattle off a few dates here, and the theme of what I want you to understand is, I mentioned our critical path in the pool and the gym. There are other areas where we are progressing on schedule, ahead of schedule, and in really good shape. And so as we look towards turnover, and how do you guys start taking and utilizing the building and setting it up for use, realizing we're gonna be getting close to the start of school, right? Even at July 31st, if we pull this thing in at July 31st, the window between there and the start of school, to move into a new space of 165,000 square feet, it's pretty short. So we want to make sure that we're working together. We've had a lot of conversations already. Those conversations continue about how do you move into the space, how do you take over, and how do we transition. So starting off basement and first floor, everything minus the pool area, we anticipate being done at the end of May. The second floor, including the pool balcony, June 8th is what we're currently tracking. Third floor minus the gym is July 6th. The fourth floor mechanical room, June 24th, end of June. One big thing that obviously everybody's aware of and tracking is, when is the geothermal system gonna come online? So we are tracking early May for that we're ready there. And hopefully that speeds up. Having the fourth floor mechanical room available and the work going up there, as Jake mentioned, there's a ton of work up there. It's a lot when you look at our 3D model of everything that's gonna go in. But the crews are on it. So and then move into the outside, we see the exterior facade being done around June 23rd. That's all the brickwork, the glass, the entrance doors, all that stuff. The exterior site work, including the reopening of Scoville, right, taking down our fence and reopening that road mid-June on that. And that includes the alleyway, milling and paving Scoville, all the landscaping work that happens along Scoville to bring this thing back into shape. So, with that, that all wraps up. I need to go back to the pool. So right now we're tracking August 6th on the pool and August 12th on the gym. Why the difference between August 12th and August 19th? That's 5 days for final inspections on all areas, final punch lists in areas. But as we wrap up those floors earlier, our full intention is to be punch listing those, doing as much towards the final inspection as we can. It's hard to get a partial fire alarm inspection for one floor, so they're not gonna allow us occupancy. But oftentimes we can get in and set up, start setting up AV and technology equipment, moving furniture, and you can't work in there, you can't have students in there, all of that. But it's all things that we can be doing in steps to get towards ready to open the building for this first day of school. So a lot of forward movement. We are fully committed to getting back to July 31st, so we continue to analyze that path forward. Where do we properly apply overtime? Where does it make sense financially to apply overtime? I mentioned being done in the basement in May. It doesn't make sense to work overtime in the basement, right? That's not a good use of funds, but it makes sense to work on the outside. So we continue to analyze that, pretty much every day, every week at the minimum, and really just pushing the crews, and making sure that, we are striving for July 31st and maintaining the highest level of quality in doing so. If you wanna flip to pictures are up, I'll let Jake kind of navigate through the pictures here and then we can take questions.
Yeah, so here on the picture, on the screen, you'll see drywall, walls and CMU walls in the basement getting finished, drywall, tape, mud, painted. You can see some of our overhead MEPs are rough throughout. Most of the floor space down here is all sealed concrete, so pretty good there. That's gonna be an easy one to turn over. I want to go ahead to the next slide. And I just kind of did this floor by floor, so next here is just your first floor. What I'm trying to show in these pictures is kind of an close-up overview of our major MEP riser shaft, mechanical shaft. This is what feeds from the mechanical room on all other floors coming down all the way to the basement. And then you kind of see the opening where that orange netting is in the picture on your left. That is the monument communication center. That's alternate number 1 that was accepted at bid time. So if you guys remember, that wall is a big giant art featured wall surrounded by big pieces of ceramic tile. And there's a communication center that goes up that was added in at bid time. There's also a communication desk just below it. Picture on the right there is just a blown out view of that space. You can see masons on the right hand side installing that finished block work I was talking about, the ground face block. This corridor that will lead over to door 10. And then that is a view of looking southwest if you're standing there in the building. On the next slide, this is level 2. Here's where I'll talk about where the wall types transition from a lot of masonry walls, heavy masonry walls, to drywall framing walls. So here you can see the picture on your left. That is your athletic directors' offices and conference spaces over there. Just on the other side of this corridor is the yoga self-defense room. You can see that we've already started drywall on top of walls in there. Since then, all of the MEP work that goes down that corridor is in above ceiling. We've taken no time to do these. These pictures are only a couple of days old, by the way. So we're going as fast as we can with grabbing spaces when they're available. And then the picture on your right of the slide is another view. That's communications there coming up from the first floor. The framing that you see there in the back of that is one of the public bathrooms. That same bathroom setup is down on the first floor and on the third floor. It's also your elevators tucked back in there. You can't really see. The next slide is a picture of the third floor on the left and then the fourth floor on the right. Third floor on the left, here more of the riser work and CME work going on, leads on to the future boiler room. And then on the picture on your right hand side, that is your fourth floor mechanical room. There you can see the air handling units, pumps, chillers, and that being set on their pads already. The spray fireproofing cementitious material I was talking about, that's what you see on the rafters above. On the next slide, here is a better picture of our pool balcony. Currently as it is today, there's a sloped metal deck. We're getting ready to start framing that out here so we can start pouring those steps in upcoming weeks. And speaking of stairs and steps, the right hand picture, our northeast stair tower and our southwest stair tower are fully in and usable. We still have to obviously put your finishes in, clean them up and that, but they are usable for construction use. So that's a plus for us. Next slide is the mechanical penthouse, a couple more blown out pictures of that space. You can see more of the equipment just staged, ready to go. Our installs already progressed. And then the last slide is probably the coolest of the last couple of slides. That side is our fire pump room and our electrical gear room. The gear, I think we mentioned last time in the September update, we brought that switch gear in last time we met. There was a giant opening in the basement walls. So now you can see it set in place. We're getting ready to turn that on next Wednesday. So we will have power available to the rest of the building for our project and for our equipment. So we can start with our install testing as we go. And our fire pump room is progressing there as well. So made really good progress on that room these past couple of weeks. It was pretty bare, not gonna lie. The last slide is the best one, and it's the pool. I would say you guys couldn't really see it, the tarps, but here is what I was showing, what I'm trying to explain. All of our underground pool piping is in place in there in case that next week. So we set that in case with concrete. Then we backfill the stones, start installing the rebar that makes up the pool slab itself. On the picture on your left-hand side, I guess you can see on both pictures, you see the guys on the east side of the pool framing out the grade beam. So the ramp has been removed. They're framing out the grade beam. That's getting ready to be poured next week. And then on the far end of those pictures, you can see the deep end pool walls are being framed. So that's the interior space. And then we're going to start marching our way on the west elevation, looking north, and just go clockwise around that pool space.
I will say the pictures really don't do it justice. It looks very long and narrow.
Yeah.
So we've been talking, and Greg, maybe you're gonna mention this. We've been talking about trying to set up in February, groups of 2 tours for the board members so that you guys can really get the real sense of walking this. It's great to look at pictures, right? And, but just to stand in those spaces and get the feel for how thick that is. So that's something that's for. Any questions?
So I know we pushed back the start of school this coming fall, a certain number of days to maybe accommodate a little bit of this. When is our start date for school?
Our teachers arrived August 20th. So we are 1 day from.
And you said that weather was the main cause of the delays. You referenced a couple of times and some other things.
Yeah.
What were those other things?
Yeah, so I think when we met back in September, yeah, definitely when we met in September. Back in August, we actually had the steel erector, not the contractor who we signed it, who the district awarded the contract to, but the erector, the guys actually installing, walked off the site. They pulled off that it was, I won't speculate why, but they abandoned the site. The contractor that we hired to do the fabrication and the installation, they subbed it out, right? They took over. That process was quick from a standpoint of Director A was off-site by 4 p.m. one day. We stood down for 1 or 2 days to make sure that the new crew coming in had the safety requirements understood, and we had a plan moving forward. We put a plan into action, and I'd be remiss if I said that went as smoothly as it could, right? So there has been some challenges with that. There was more left undone than what we first anticipated. And so we're still working through some of those things. We're primarily through it. We have had some other little things, with the pool, we got a couple of weeks in on the pool, right around Thanksgiving, found a discrepancy with the foundations, had to get the design team involved. They worked through the resolution to it pretty quickly, we had to get some additional material. All in all, we lost about 2 weeks there. 2 weeks is pretty critical with the pool, so we're trying to overcome that. Weather's the biggest one though. We've basically lost the last 2 weeks. Today, we finally got the exterior framing crew back outside. To put our permanent roof on though, we need 40 degrees and rising. So we were able to get a temporary roof on, it's a part of the permanent roof system. It was actually bought with the job in the original bids. We were able to get that on, but we do need 20 and rising for that, and we need a dry deck. We got really close. We need about 4, maybe 5 days to finish it up. For the brickwork to start, there's an air barrier that's spray applied to the exterior. We started that. We have about 2 days of the detail membrane around the windows and the openings installed. The next step really is to spray apply that coating, and it's a 2-day process, let's say, to do everything north of the pool. To do that, the block has to be dry, and we need 20 and rising on that as well. These cold mornings are making it tough. We had a couple of days, a month or 2 months ago when we had the temperatures for it, but we didn't have the dryness. Right? If there's any moisture in that block to the point you can see it, if they apply it, it will bubble back off. So we've had the installers out. We started the detail membrane, got, like I said, 2 days into where we were about ready to be able to spray, and we kind of went into this weather pattern where rain, snow, the block was wet, it almost dry, and then it rained, snow again on us. So we're in a bit of a holding pattern. We do have a plan as soon as we can get that sprayed to proceed with the exterior brick enclosing our hydromobile scaffolds. It's actually set up. It's been sitting in place for about probably 3 weeks now on the first position, just to the north of the pool, about a 100-foot stretch. So it is set up. We just need to tarp it in, throw a heater on it, and then we can proceed upward with the brick. But we've got to get that air barrier on, and we have to be able to do the air barrier from the bottom of the wall to the top of the wall all in one fall swoop, because if the top of the wall gets wet, that it will work its way down right behind the air barrier if it's on the lower half. So
Tony, can you jog my memory? Are there LDs in the Gilrain contract that are tied to July 31st?
There are, yes. And then as with all of those, those are always, I don't want to say discretionary that we would mandate the use of them, but they're definitely there, to protect the district with our schedule as well.
Okay, so I'll just say something like from a philosophical standpoint, and I'm just one of 7 board members. To me, there are 3 things that are more important than actually being able to move into the building before the staff shows up on August 20th. The number 1 of those 3 things is safety. So we don't want to have any worker injuries in this project. We never had, that's been task number 1. The other 2 are kind of tied. One is the project has to still come in under budget. Secondly, the work has to be done correctly. And that actually relates back to another topic of safety, which is the work is done correctly, the inspections are passed, and we feel fully confident that our students and staff are going to be safe once they move in the building. So to me, those 3 things are way more important than moving in by the 31st or August 20th, or even September 20th. You may not want to imagine this, but we've lived with the inconvenience of not having that corner of the building for 2 years. Even if we went another month or 2, those 3 other things are just way more important. So that's my marker philosophically where I'm at as the board. And I think this also, once again, speaks to safety because when there's a rush mindset in a construction environment, operations environment, heavy equipment, railroad operations, you name it, that's when you're kind of exposing yourself to the risk of worker injury. So I just want to put that out there. That's kind of where I'm at on this whole project for myself.
I would add with that too, when we talk about the budget, you know, I think one of the most common questions that I'll ask, or Dr. Johnson will ask is, you know, why was nobody working on Saturday, but we're hearing we're behind? And, you know, for Gilbane, there would be a financial benefit to run overtime out there on Saturday, because, you know, they get a percentage of what we spend. So if we don't use that contingency and allowance, it comes back to us and they don't make anything off of it. So it, you know, in many ways they'd be motivated to do that. And, you know, Jeremy's answer has always been, it'll be there when we have trades that we need, but it does us no good to get this lower area done ahead of schedule because it's still ahead of schedule. So you're paying for something that doesn't improve your situation at all. So I think that's a conversation we've had a lot.
I'd like to say something. To the point of the quality of what's being installed. Right now, Gilbane is taking it upon themselves. You see a lot of drywall going into the building right now. And there's quite frankly, there's moisture out there that we have to worry about. The drywall product that's called for is not a moisture resistant product. What you see being installed is purple board. That purple board is moisture resistant. They've taken it upon themselves to install that product instead of the typical drywall to eliminate moisture and more problems that we're going to face in the future. Trying to just think that that's one of the things that they have worked very hard, you know, trying to make sure that we're getting a quality project, and at the same time, safety that we're bringing up. Every morning, there's safety talks with the contractors. They go through a safety check and they realize and go through what they're going to be going through. That they work. So I just wanted to bring that.
Thanks for sharing that, Joe. Jake, I appreciate all the detail. And Jeremy, I really appreciate you reiterating the commitment to safety and quality. I'll just echo what Graham said. I think that this facility is being something that the community expects to last for the next 50 to 100 years. And so the most important thing to me is that it's done right. And that commitment to quality is that I'm very happy to hear you embracing that. My question is about your comments about as different parts of the new facility are completed in May and June. Does that mean that that our staff is going to be able to be in those spaces, looking at it, thinking about it, figuring out how best to use it? Or is that just that's simply from your standpoint that the work is complete? I'm not sure what that means from our side.
Sure, I'll jump in and then I'll let Jeremy fill in everything that I previously mentioned. We are already talking about the sequencing of events internally. You think about it in a way that, you know, as walls go up, there's things, say from a technology standpoint, that have to go behind the wall in order for connectivity. But then once the room is turned over, we have projectors we have to install, we have furniture we have to build, so a room can become a classroom. As that happens, they've got a really good relationship with our inspector at the ROE, where they say, you know, they want the district needs to come in to prepare for school. You know, it's going to be members of their technology team and their PG team that are, you know, going to be assembling some things, but they're not going to be working in that space in an educational standpoint. It's going to be in a preparation standpoint. So as those turn over, those are really what that means is, you know, if we're looking at August 19th, you know, with the 12th essentially being when that last area is complete, we're able to kind of go all hands on deck in one particular area, with the rest of the building already have been staged and prepared.
Okay, so it's kind of on a rolling basis that we're in these spaces throughout the new facility, doing the things that we need to do to prepare for the students to be there. But August 19th is what you're projecting now for like the normal turning over the keys. I got it. What are you gonna continue, like, just what will you continue to do, Jeremy, to make that August 19th date as close to July 31st as you can? Actually, will you anticipate being able to peel back some of that time? Or is there a risk that it's actually gonna go past August 19th?
No, I mean, we hope that August 19th is as bad as it gets, right? We do have a plan to peel back some of that time. We need weather to get on our side here quickly, preferably. But yeah, I mean, that's a great question, right? So I mentioned we evaluate the schedule every week, every month. Like, we've got people outside of this, outside of our project team in our office evaluating the schedule, looking for efficiencies. So really, like, the biggest thing is picking this critical path activities and applying the overtime funds there. Applying it where it makes sense. So the pool, then it's gonna be the cast in place concrete deck around the pool to get that. Then we're gonna move to the exterior wall. We're gonna run that exterior wall hard. We may go 7 days a week on that. If the weather allows and the crew allows, we may go 7 days a week to finish that exterior wall. Or up to manpower, either or both. Curtain wall right now, so we've got a lot of what we consider punched windows, openings like this on the first and second floor. And then we've got kind of a band of curtain wall that runs the whole, really the whole east and south side of the building. Right now, we have it staggered that there's kind of one crew doing one of those activities and then they move to the other. We're already in talks with our glazing contractor about, hey, when this hits, can we have two crews and progress both of those at the same time? The punch windows like this, they go in pretty quick. The curtain wall band takes a little longer, but it does go in sections. So every day you gain another, whatever, let's say 20 feet or 30 feet. Right? We will continue with the temporary measures on those windows until they're fully glazed, so that it does maintain the best temporary conditioning we can. You know, the overhead work in the pool, there's a fair amount. We were just earlier tonight evaluating quotes and ideas, not ideas, we have the idea in play, but finalizing our plan for how once the pool is poured, right, now we've got a big pit, we've got to work over town. How do we get the ductwork? How do we get the steel above it painted? So our plan all along has been to erect a giant scaffold. That takes time. There's a couple of different ways, opinions to do that. So we are finalizing that plan now, even though it's, call it a month and a half from now that goes into play. But then parts of that are going to take longer than others, right? And things like painting make it difficult for anybody else to work in there because of just the fumes and falling 30 feet. That might be something we look at doing on a night shift so that others can work in there in the day. We may try and do a double shift. All of those things are in play. Those are kind of the things. The other thing I do want to mention is when we ran these dates, so we pull August 19th, that is on a 5-day work week. All right, so everywhere we gain a Saturday on critical path activities, we theoretically gain a day, right? And we should gain a day. So we just have to continue evaluating. We have to continue talking with our contractor and saying, hey, it's gonna be tight at the end. What can we do manpower wise? And really starting to reserve that. Part of the other key of those dates I listed, you notice a lot of those were finishing still in May and early June. Everybody gets really busy at the end of May, right? Like all the school summer improvement work, including here, kicks off. And so the trades get really busy. Pre-planning that, letting them know the workforce that we need, the expectations we have to finish this thing. They're all in it with us, right? They all have the same substantial completion date that Gilbane has. So motivating them to try and expedite where we can, and that's a lot of why you see 80 and 100 workers here now and more coming, is because they're available now. And we have 4 floors of primarily open space. We put the tarps up when we put the tarps up on the gym, that should be in the next 2 weeks. if we can get the roof, those 4 or 5 days I was talking about on the temporary roof, that opens up the entire gym for the electrical overhead roughing for all the sports equipment. It opens up the gym for the ductwork. There's probably about 2 months just electrical in the gym. Right? So, and we can put 2 or 3 guys out in the gym just working on the gym. That's their focus. Similarly, that's what's happening up in the camp. There's a crew of sprinklers that are up there doing fire protection. There's a crew of piping guys up there doing the heat, all the piping that makes the geothermal system work. There's a crew of ductwork guys up there, and there's a crew of electricians. They're just getting started this week, so those crews are like 2 guys each. But that'll grow, right? Like Jake said, there'll be 20, 25 guys in that house. It's a fairly large space right now until we start putting all the ductwork and all the piping together, and it cranks down. But, you know, those, I guess to answer your question, like those are the things that we just keep evaluating. We've also started, you know, with Greg and Tony, Jeff, Kurt started, we're gonna have monthly check-ins, first of each month. Just a status check-in, where are we at, how are we tracking, are we getting better, are we holding steady, hopefully not getting worse, right? So that we can keep a better pulse on. We want to do those walkthroughs so you guys can get a sense of it. And the other thing is with helping with the transition period, right? As we get closer and closer, I mentioned a couple of staff tours were done earlier this week, starting to take key personnel, especially, you know, the building grounds guys, the guys that need to know how to operate the facility. We start touring them before we close walls, before we close ceilings, so they know what's in there. That's already in motion. And really giving people a sense of what you're taking over, what you're accepting. And so that learning process can start now. It's not on August 19th. It's like, here's a new building. You know, so that's all things we can do early and start to prepare. And other than that, we just have to keep a watchful eye on the schedule and apply pressure where it makes sense. Executing with safety and quality of lives.
Just one thing to clarify too, as we talk about monthly meetings based on schedule, that doesn't replace the weekly meetings that we have. Those are a lot of, I don't mean it in a negative way, but a lot of cooks in the kitchen there. You know, we've got contractors in our team and Gilbane's team and FGM's team. Here will be an additional meeting that is specifically focused on schedule and changes and sequencing.
So, where do you, with the move in the schedule, where do you reasonably foresee being able to make up time? And what's the likelihood of that transpiring?
Well, where we can make up time is in that exterior wall, that masonry, the brickwork on the outside. Same thing with the glass and glazing work that happens in that particular area around the pool and gymnasium. Like I said, it's all figured right now on a 5-day work week. So if we can work 6 days, we get a day a week. If we work 7 days, maybe 2 days a week. What's the likelihood? I think, you know, there's a high probability, but obviously I can't predict what the weather does. Like that's the downside is if we account for and plan for 6 days now, getting 6 days every week, we know what spring's like, right? There's rainy days and there's cold days still. So we're ultimately still gonna have weather days that we have to contend with, and we just have to keep working to make them up. There's also a continued evaluation of the schedule and the logic that's there. We have a schedule built. We rely on our contractors to help us fine tune those sequences of activities. So there's a lot of conversations we're having now about the pool. We're talking in here a lot about the foundations of the pool, but there's a whole side of that. There's a whole pool equipment room that makes that thing work, right? We've got a lot of time built in for that and for the commissioning of that system to make sure that it's ready. We're talking now with our contractor about, is that actually, it's likely too much time. So we may gain some time there on the startup end of things. We have not taken that out of our schedule yet because we haven't finalized that conversation. The other thing is we mentioned setting the mechanical equipment, doing all the doctorizers, doing all the piping now. By August 19th, our full intention, or by the substantial completion date, hopefully July 31st, our full intention is to have the commissioning process, the mechanical commissioning process, pretty much through. And with that commissioning process comes owner training, right? How to operate the equipment, how to maintain the equipment, all the things you need to know about the building again. So, I absolutely think in the next, 7 months, 6 months, we can make up time. Am I certain it's 19 days? Not 100%, but we're gonna give it our best.
Where do you foresee potential additional delays? You mentioned weather. Are there equipment issues, okay, and then, we talked about different, amounts of, for these people and quantities by day and availability. Does, I take it, no one typically cuts down overtime, but one thing that's different now than perhaps prior years is the no tax on overtime. Is there more willingness to be more able to get larger groups to work?
Typically, people don't turn down overtime.
Yeah.
It's not completely unheard of, but let's say we have a crew of 15. You might get 10 of them that work Saturday, maybe 5, got something else going on, they don't do overtime. But yeah, we typically don't have a problem with getting people to work overtime as long as we can prove this it's valuable time, right? Again, like looking at just this week in a short-sighted view, we were gonna work the pool contractor on Saturday overtime. With Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday's crane pick, they actually are gonna need to make their next concrete pour on Wednesday if we work on Saturday. We can't, because of the space constraints, we can't have a concrete pick pour and a crane pick in the same day. We just can't fit it all. And so there's a simple case of it doesn't make sense to work the guys overtime, spend the money, and they're just gonna say, well, I didn't need to work Saturday because I don't have anything to do on Wednesday.
Yeah. I heard about the like the tenant relationship with inspectors and the ability to get, perhaps the soft inspections to allow buildings, building grounds, and on a little bit. This is more of a question for Tony. Is there anything
I'd have to double check to answer that definitively, given that, it would be, it's something we have to work through internally if it's, the furniture is built in an area of the building that, is currently open and then just relocated as it's moved in, but that's something we'd have to work through with our union and just see if there may be issues there.
And then I was also heard that we had 1.5 million in trade contingencies. Can you elaborate on what a trade contingency is?
Yeah, so we've got two buckets of money, if you will. Owner contingency that requires a review and approval process with the district and the architect. And then we have trade allocations, which are miscellaneous funds that are built into the bids that were accepted 2 years ago, I guess. Those are allocations for miscellaneous things, miscellaneous work essentially at our discretion. It is a weekly conversation in our OACs about what those funds are, what we're using those funds for. So it is an open communication, but it is built into the bids. Any of that money that's left over at the end of the job does come back to the district. The contractors do not get to keep it, Gilbane does not keep it. So it is in there, but what we build that in for is things like this, right? It's hard to foresee exactly where and when we're gonna need to apply overtime, or we're gonna have an unforeseen condition, where we may need to do something extra. And that's what we utilize those funds for, and so to sit here with, say, 24.
Right.
You know, we started with 2.2, right? We're a long ways into this process. And we conserve and we really use that money cautiously early in the project, because no matter how smooth they go, we always need it in the end.
Would the, you mentioned the steel erectors walking on.
Yeah.
Would that have potentially a difference in costs between maybe one and the other, that come out of that bucket? Is that,
That didn't cost the district anything. No, that was, again, we have a contract with the fabricator who owes us the install. Their installer, I'll say, underbid the job to them, right? That contract between those two has nothing to do with Gilbane or the district. And so what it costs them to finish the install is on them. So it didn't cost them anything. In fact, they worked quite a bit of overtime to try and overcome it, and we've struggled. So it's provided plenty of challenges, let me tell you.
then I guess, I'll, anything I'm interested, like, from student perspective.
I just think it's really clear you guys are doing a great job. Like so much about the whole process, so well planned out. But the only thing that came to my mind is I was actually talking with my gym teacher today, and they did like a tour of it, and she was like showing me my friend all the pictures and stuff. So I was just wondering, like, on our end, just like if they're up to date with all of the deadlines and stuff, just so they could like plan the curriculum in case like there were any delays.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we did do staff tours earlier in the week. We did talk about schedule, and we intend on continuing those staff tours as we progress through build out. So we have another scheduled tours next week. I'll space those out every 3 weeks or so as we progress through, where we keep talking those schedules.
And I've heard a rumor that the physical education department turned down Jake Eggy to make the schedule of just leaving the gym pool area as open air.
So thank you. This update's fantastic. It's very thorough and detailed, and I appreciate that. And I mean, I'm getting super excited every time I walk by outside after time away. It's amazing how much is being accomplished in those stances between board meetings. So I'm curious about, because the delays that you've experienced have been significantly due to weather. Just for our clarity and insight, would you comment on the process that you apply to establish a forecast for how many days weather is going to be a problem? Because it certainly seems like that would be a part of the overall process where you'd want to err on the side of black swan events almost just to give yourself cushion and extra leeway. So just some clarity and insight, that would be great.
Yeah, so I mean, there's national averages based on weather patterns for our area, right? I don't have the number of days that we figure every year that are going to be adverse conditions for working right off the top of my head. Certainly something I can talk with our regional scheduling department. They know all that stuff much cleaner than I do, but yeah, and that's the truth of the matter is you're gonna have weather no matter what phase of the job you're at, right? We sat here a year ago battling concrete foundations and caissons through the winter. And you remember those flows and things. So we had our fair share of winter moments in that phase. And then we had it, you know, as we went through the summer and trying to get the structure up. And then just like I said, weather turned just a little too quick on us. And that was, you know, when we initially started this job, right, we started off with a little bit of a hiccup with the Nycor gas relocation, a little bit by 2 months. And it's hard to foresee at that time, like, hey, that 2 months backed up these activities into the fall. And you want to count on a nice fall, right? And so that's, you know, that coupled with some of our other challenges and struggles that we've had has pushed that back a little bit further from fall to early winter, and then our winter actually showed up in December instead of waiting this year on us. So I don't have the exact number of days that, you know, are figured in a typical year. I can certainly look into that, send that along your way, but it is something that we have to overcome on every job. And some years we get lucky and we have good, and some years. So that's why, you know, our focus really in this presentation, we wanted to be clear to you guys where our challenges and struggles have been, but we also really are just focused on how do we move forward and how do we make that, how do we shorten the path to getting to the deadline, and making the deadline. So that's really our focus. Is we like to joke in the trailer that we can do all in the past all we want. It's not gonna help anything. It's not gonna make, you know, the last 2 weeks more. But yeah. And it's not gonna move the start of the school either, so.
Well, thanks so much for being here, guys. Gilbane has been a wonderful partner to the district, this project. So thank you for that. We're relying on you to bring some for us over the next 6 months.
Absolutely.
Confident that you also.
Thank you. We appreciate the confidence.
That we will move to the next item on our agenda, which is board governance. Audrey is online. Do you want to speak to this one?
Yeah. So one of the things that we talked about at our last meeting is looking at our board goals and doing an update on those goals. I know some things were submitted, and I also know some of us, i.e. me, have not yet done our updates. So we will have to do that. But what I would like to do for the updates that we have is just to hear from the rest of the team about where things are.
So do we want to just go around the room?
Yeah. Why don't we just go ahead and do that?
Okay. Kathleen, do you want to speak into ours?
Yeah, I can.
We did submit an update.
We did submit an update. I don't have the goals. I'm frantically searching to try to pull those up in front of me. But Tim and I have been in touch to talk about the 2 goals that we had brought forward. One of which was academic monitoring. The goal as written is focused on the freshman curriculum, and I know when we talked at the beginning of the year, we talked about, you know, sort of broadening the scope there. So one of those goals is just the monitoring around curriculum and really, you know, doing a deep dive and understanding how things are going with that. And I think our understanding is that goal is in process. It's not complete, but we know we have some updates coming in the next couple of months. So I think that goal, I think we wrote to Lisa and said it would be good to color that one yellow to indicate in progress but not yet complete.
Thanks, Kathleen. Any questions?
Yeah.
I was asking anyone, any questions for Kathleen?
Yeah, the second goal we had worked on was the building environment and specifically the focus on student perceptions of safety and climate within the building. We also, in our email to Lisa, thought we could color that one yellow to indicate started but not complete. I know we again talked about it, and we're looking forward to receiving further updates on that at some point. So both of those, I think, are underway.
Okay.
Did you want to say anything?
No, beautiful.
Thanks. I think there's Graham next to you. You're very small on the screen.
I'll have to work on that. We actually sent a 3-page memo to Lisa, but.
Put it over there.
photos. And this I can actually email out as well, but I'll still give the verbal highlights as Audrey's requesting. So facilities and finance team is myself, Fred, Jonathan. Goal area 1, budgeting process and scenario planning. Objective 1. Following your CFC meeting, provide a report out to the board on any key budget developments. I think Kathleen and I are pretty consistent routine of getting the report out, and that's really credit to her. Objective 2. By April, work with CFC and Assistant Superintendent of Business Services to analyze future deficit projections and task administration to prepare scenarios with mitigation strategies. On that one, because CFC has kind of been supercharged, you'll see the details, the ways in which that has taken place in this memo. CFC is really the advanced review team for every stage of the budget cycle. Whether we're talking about preliminary, tax levy, final preparation. And so therefore that objective 2, it's really no longer tied necessarily to April. It's happening during every major milestone of the budget process around the calendar year. So that's our goal number 1. Goal number 2, determine go or no-go decision on project 3, now called Act 3. 3 smart objectives for that. By April, you hope to at least get a sense of the total CapEx size of Act 3 plus or minus 30%, which is kind of the usual customary boundary for major capital projects. Everybody here is aware of the schedule we're on with FGMA and the work they've got to do in order for us to even get to a potential price tag, and we're not there yet. So whether we have that information or not by April is still to be determined, but we're going to be in standby mode until that happens. Smart objective number 2 under this goal is use the major capital projects plan framework to determine the financing mechanism. Again, that will be predicated on actually getting a dollar figure from the work that FGMA administration is doing. The CapEx framework model is already built, it's just a matter of plugging in the Act 3 numbers when we have it. Third smart objective under this goal is the go, no-go decision itself on project 3 or Act 3. And again, prior steps are necessary, but the current timeline in the goals of June 26th or June 2026, I think are still, that's still a reasonable target.
Okay.
The last goal, number 3, relates to collective bargaining agreements. And we're on schedule with that goal. And as you heard earlier, the actual meetings have actually been set the calendar now for those
17th. All right. Great. Thanks, Graham. Any questions? All right, then Jonathan?
I'm sorry, which, what's the expectation, Audrey?
Oh, just an update in terms of the goals that are being worked on, or were you on the same team as Graham? Forgive me.
Same
Okay. Okay. And then Tim and Kathleen have already gone. And then Fred cannot be here this evening, but I think he's on one of your teams. And then, as I mentioned with Josh, we just have not yet had a chance to connect. So we will do that and get an update to Lisa so that we'll have that documented about where things are.
Great.
Right.
Is there anything else you want to cover, Audrey, in the board governance section?
No, that's all that I had for this evening.
But We'll move ahead to our liaison reports. Kathleen and Graham, thank you for setting out the CSE notes. That was really helpful and interesting. Anyone else have an update?
So, with applause, a lot of fundraising efforts in the works. It's particularly exciting, you know, as we recently discussed, moving forward with Act 3. The applause committee is very excited about that. One of the things that they asked is kind of appropriate given what's in our agenda is making sure to collaborate with the administration on budgeting for some of their expenses are large, but very, you know, spread far out. Like for instance, they have a useful life of, you know, several years, right? And they wanted to make sure that we are that department heads and the budget team appropriately looking at the usefulness of those items, discuss like negotiations for life, and that those items are going to be accommodated in the budget to make sure that we have space. So I know we want the administration to start preparing the budget. So one of the things that we did want to make a point of is that that there are open lines of communication as far as like what those needs are, just so we can stick them moving forward, right? You know, when I was at the meeting, they're like, well, how does the budget get made? It's a Tony question. I don't know how the budget gets made, but you know, I know that we'll certainly ask to make sure that they're taken care of, right? You know, supposedly going to spend a lot on Act 3. It makes sense that they are working. Other than that, yeah, it's
Community council meetings canceled last week. I don't know why it was canceled, but Greg,
It actually wasn't canceled, it wasn't scheduled.
okay.
We had planned to meet in February. I think there were some council members who had reached out saying it was, but it was because it wasn't scheduled.
Oh, all right.
Our next one in February is going to be over at the site.
Do you want me to give a quick update on the IGov meeting?
Yeah, if you would, Kathleen. Kathleen was kind enough to step in for me on Saturday. I had a conflict.
Yeah, so it was a good meeting with IGov. There were a couple of topics, one of which is the website. So there's an IGov website coming soon to our community, which I think is going to be great, especially as a resource for people to better understand in what ways do the various governance bodies work together and collaborate. And there'll be some good resources on that website as well. And then the other topic of discussion was a upcoming workshop in the spring for local elected officials. And the group continues to work toward refining what the topic of that will be in the format. So that's work in progress, but something to look forward to.
Thanks, Kathleen. And then I will add, last week, Greg and I attended the Imagine Foundation meeting. And so they are really continuing to make good progress towards their goals for their commitment to the district. And they really laid out their fundraising and what they've raised so far, get committed so far, and what they expect to give to us per year over the next few years. So staying on track. They're also continuing to do fundraisers and ways to increase, what's coming in. And one thing that they'll do in mid-May, which sounds like it could be a lot of fun, is a walk, run, and roll event where they're partnering with the high school, and it'll be at the track. So having a 5K, a 1 mile for kids, but just really getting the community out at the track and using that to help raise awareness and raise funds, and also starting to do some working with the school on hard hat tours. And so discussing sort of bringing groups in and continuing to just showcase what's coming. And Greg, did I miss anything?
No, that was perfect. It was good summary.
Excited. Well, thank you, everyone. Let's move to our last agenda item, which is future agenda items.
Yes, so I would like to propose that we authorize a limited waiver to existing residency requirements for students from families that are experiencing crisis and disruption to their lives due to recent immigration activities in the area. And I understand that this has to the procedure is for it to go to the policy committee. I would like to express some urgency to this request so that we can articulate this to the any families in our community that have been affected by this, but also to get it done sooner than later.
Right, now, Dennis. How does this, I understand the immigration enforcement crisis now is taking it, so absolutely. I'm curious, or I'm not putting two together,
So let's say that the idea behind articulating this right now to the school community would be to be potentially in anticipation that there's going to be families that will that might have to leave where they're currently, their current housing situation, and that might go beyond the borders of the school district. We have a policy in place that should that happen during the school year, and that should they stay there, that the following year, they'll receive a letter saying that it's been documented that they're no longer in this school district and therefore are not eligible to return to school. This would be to seek an exception to that based on the current circumstances. Yeah, that's pretty much answer.
So hypothetically, we're not talking about, are we talking about a deportation, or are we talking about moving?
No.
Not being comfortable living here currently?
We're talking about looking at being more anticipatory about the consequences that a family might be eventually experiencing due to the current crisis in our community.
Again, okay, so maybe families not able to afford rent, and there's an eviction, is that kind?
If a family doesn't feel safe, for instance, in their current housing situation due to immigration activities in the community, and therefore they relocate and find another place to be safe for the time being, and let's say they stay there, but they still want to remain in our school community.
Can I jump in?
Okay, sure.
I think I can help. We talked very briefly about this earlier today. What you described here helps me to understand this even more. I'm pulling up current board policy 760 residents. There's a provision in that policy that reads accordingly. In accordance with the school code, so this is in school code, any community will stay. In accordance with the school code, a regular education student who is a resident and who becomes a non-resident during a school term may complete that term without payment of tuition. The district, however, is not responsible for the student's transportation to or from school. This is in the school code to help protect a student's continuity of education in case something like this occurs. And so this has no bearing on what might happen in subsequent years, or things like that. But for the current school year, if the family decides, for whatever reason, they can't stay, there is a provision in not only school code, but it's adopted in our policy to allow that student to remain a student here and appear at for whatever school they're part of. So does that speak to the question you have there?
So what I'm hearing is that the current policy, as you see it, creates enough protection long-term to a student that is that, let's say tomorrow enters a state of ongoing displacement and chaos in their housing situation that can extend beyond the borders after the school year.
That's exactly
completes, that they're allowed to come back, that we have the legal framework that already exists for that.
That's exactly right. We were talking about Florida, maybe we were talking in the context of waivers or things like that, which are slightly, that's not what this is exactly. It's saying, you know, it's kind of the same as in a special education sense, a state with British. Right?
But then, right, but that's current now.
That's correct.
Right. Okay, so is the ask like, so hypothetically, right, the family is displaced during the school year, right? The child can continue the education throughout the year, but we don't know what happens if there's something happens this summer. And that family is displaced. As it stands currently, that student would not be able to prove residency and would not be able to attend OPRF.
That's exactly correct. So if there's a shift that the board is asking us to consider in those instances, the policy committee would have to come together.
And I think that it would need, what I'm asking for is to take a look at how that can be more robust and far reaching, because this is about providing further protections for those families that experience that ongoing displacement. So should it go into the summer, then I would be looking for further safeguards to those families, those students that want to continue to remain a part of the OPRF learning community, even though they do not feel safe enough to return to the borders of it, even though they established residency here prior to what we're currently experiencing.
I understand you, Dr.
Jonathan, I'm sympathetic to the concept. I'm just trying to categorize this properly. I'm not sure that this is a new agenda item request, but I think that it is a sort of a special policy, update request. So I don't think that we would want to handle this through our normal agenda process.
I think you're right about that.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think that the policy committee,
We could solve something and then bring it as an agenda item.
That was what I was suggesting too, is that, just to be clear, that was my understanding.
Is everyone support that, any objection to move that way? Okay.
Sorry. So I'm just want to make sure the sound was in and out, but having it go through the policy committee for consideration and then having that brought to the board as we typically do for policy changes or updates. Okay.
And I just, I am requesting, I know there's currently no policy committee meeting on, that's on the schedule yet. And so I just wanted to request.
Policy committee meets when it needs.
Right. So I wanted to request more urgency in scheduling the next policy committee.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I know actually, but am I right in understanding now with the provision that I read in the current policy, that urgency is somewhat mitigated because we have a tool, within our toolbox here that we can utilize for the current school year. We need to make sure, according to this, that we entertain this idea for the beginning of the school.
We get out like the school year.
Yeah.
That's true. I would, however, say there is value to being outward facing and articulating that to any families that might be experiencing lived trauma, and this being a part of that currently, and then anticipating the looking to beyond this school year and maybe not being able to come back, knowing that there is a lifeline to potentially policy as it stands.
So I think you're saying August wouldn't be early enough for an announcement of any changes.
Correct,
Yeah.
100%. Oh, I'm sorry, Audrey, go ahead.
No, the one thing I would say, if I could, obviously, as our policy committee, Tim and Josh, I think there needs to be some additional work and understanding behind how this will be structured. I would not like to see a policy that's targeted at a very specific kind of situation that does not sustain over the long term. and leaves out other families or individuals who may feel that they have very valid reasons for being treated similar in a similar situation. So I just think we need to be very careful and thoughtful about how we look at this.
Understood, I agree. So we okay with that discussion? Any other future agenda items for next month? Then I will move to adjourn at 9:25. Do I have seconds? Second. All those in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned.
Thanks all. Good night.
Thanks, Audrey.
Bye, Audrey.
Thank you.
Yeah.